Hey, digital world, welcome back to another episode of Spliced in Later. I'd say yet another episode, and it is, but it's been a long time. It has been quite some time since I've uploaded new content for all you listeners out there. Just over a month by my calculations. My last episode went up on September 8th, where I reviewed Pinocchio. You can all have your opinions about that one. And then I went away on holiday, and it was a tremendous holiday. I went to America specifically to go to Disneyland, but while I was there, I also caught out some other some cool places, San Francisco, Hollywood. I did a couple of studio tours, Las Vegas. It was a pretty hectic trip, which meant I had too much on. My feet are dead. They have blisters all over them from walking all over the place, meaning I just didn't have any time to think, well, maybe I'll bring my podcast with me and I'll record an episode while sitting next to those famous fountains outside the Bellagio. Didn't really gel with the whole vibe of the trip. So obviously we had to take a bit of a break. So there has been no new content for some time. To all my faithful listeners, I apologize for such a long break, but I'm back now. And to the people that are listening now, just because of the thing I'm talking about today, welcome. If you're new here, this is Spliced in Later, where a very incompetent, technologically unsavvy person just rabbits on about whatever he decides he wants to rabbit on about in the movie and TV world for usually around 20 to 30 minutes, and then he buggers off for a week. So we're ready to jump back into it. We're putting the trip behind us. If in case you're wondering, it was a wonderful trip. Lots of highs, a few lows as well. But I had no time to watch any new movies, so don't think I have to catch up on any reviews because I just didn't see anything. I did catch up with a couple of TV shows, most specifically things like House of the Dragon and The Lord of the Rings of Power and She-Hulk and all the usual stuff, and I'll have things to say about them if and when I ever decide to do. But we're going to come back, hit the ground running. I'm going to try and drop a few episodes over the next few weeks, just to get some activity going again on the old Spotify and the old YouTube. Get some traction going. For the people new here, if you don't know what we really talk about, we're basically either we review brand new stuff that I see, whether it's movies or TV shows. Movies I try and see as soon as they drop so I can review them pretty quickly. TV shows I tend to wait until the majority of a season has played out so I can review it as a whole rather than do the episode by episode thing, because that seems pretty tedious. You go, oh, this episode was good. I wonder what's going to happen next week. Oh, that episode was good. That did happen. Well, there you go. It's better just to wait and appreciate it as a whole. So aside from the new stuff, we also go back. We reminisce about movies of old. Whether it's a very, very covered topic on here, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or making some top 10s, talking about classic movies from my 100 movies bucket list poster that I've got sitting right next to me here, old TV shows that I'll recommend, TV shows which no one's talking about. I do like to go, hey, remember this show? And all of that general stuff. So this week we'll have two episodes, one today, one later in the week, both about brand new stuff that's come out and both about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So we are covering all of Spliced. Oh my goodness, I might need a glass of water. We'll power on. Spliced in Later's regular favorites. Later this week I will be talking about the whole entirety of the show She-Hulk Attorney at Law. Sneak peek, if you heard my opinions about Miss Marvel and how much I hate toxic masculinity and fanboys and kind of the Marvel fan base as a whole, She-Hulk hasn't improved my opinion of those people. The show itself, wonderful. Can't wait to talk about it. But that's later in the week once episode 9 drops. For today's one, we are going to talk about a very special entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a special TV presentation, Marvel Studios Presents sort of thing. Also a Halloween special in celebration of the month of Halloween. It is the Halloween show. Well, Halloween show. It is the Halloween presentation called Werewolf by Night, starring Gael Garcia Bernal. Let me just double check that is indeed his name, and I did not accidentally mix anything up, because I've done that before, and that would be embarrassing. Let me just scroll down and have a look-see. Gael Garcia Bernal. Yes, if that's what I said before, then I was correct. If that's not what I said, then I'm incorrect. Anyway, it's part of our regular series where we go on and on and on about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's my favorite thing to talk about. It's one of my favorite things ever, one of my favorite film franchises. As I've said many a time, what I love about it is its ability to evolve from that early Iron Man movie to establish a world where all these different movies, all these different characters, all these different franchises can exist on their own, but exist in a world where they're aware of each other and can cross over when needed. I don't watch the Marvel Cinematic Universe waiting for cameos and references. I find that a treat when they happen, and I'm applaud and impressed at the structure that the MCU has built, because when it started, it was a thing that was unheard of to do something like this. But I don't watch these things to go, I wonder who will show up in the post-credit scene. I wonder whose cameo has been kept under wraps. I wonder when this Easter egg will appear that will reference this other thing that's going to come in 17 movies' time. No, I just appreciate the characters that have already been established, and I enjoy watching them in their own established little worlds. Here on Spliced in Later, we either review the new stuff that comes out. It's plentiful. I mean, we're almost on to Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which will be the third MCU movie to come out this year. Not to mention all the Disney Plus shows that have been very frequent ever since they kicked off last year at the start of 2021 with WandaVision and just everything that's come from that. We're also getting to a point now where they're releasing little shorts as well. I was scrolling through Disney Plus yesterday to see what's actually up there. All the Netflix shows are on there now as well. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's an extensive library, which is why the continuing series on here is that I go back to the very beginning and I go through each one as it was chronologically released. So we started with Iron Man, we've done Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, blah, 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 blah. Eventually we will meet in the middle, and the old stuff and the new stuff that I'm talking about will connect together. And that's everything. I'm even talking about the MCU shows that are considered non-canon, because in my opinion, they are. And if Daredevil's appearance on She-Hulk last week is any indication, they always were. I don't know why we had that brief moment. It was like, no, they're not. Anyway, whatever. But this one is interesting. It's unique to the Marvel Cinematic Universe in its status as a TV special. It's a one-and-done thing. It is not long enough to be a movie. It is not a series, starting a series of Halloween specials that on a weekly basis from last week or anything like that. It's not launching a Werewolf by Night TV show. It is just this little one-and-done thing. We get in, we see this glimpse into this particular part of the MCU we've never seen before, and we get out. And right off the bat, I want to say it was incredible. I absolutely loved it. And from what I can tell online, I'm not alone in that regard. There's a real appreciation for what this thing is. So let's talk about Werewolf by Night. So Werewolf by Night is directed by frequent MCU composer Michael Giacchino, of all people. Incredible stuff. As I said, starring Gael Garcia Bernal, Laura Donnelly as Elsa Bloodstone, and Harriet Sansom Harris as a crazy lady. It is a homage of sorts to the classic monster movies of the 1930s and the 1940s released by Universal Studios. If you don't know what I'm talking about there, of course you do. You just have it not really pinpointing it in your brain. It's the classic early monster movies. You've got your Frankenstein, your Dracula, the Thing from the Black Lagoon, werewolf stories, Bride of Frankenstein, vampire hunters and zombies and all of that stuff. Those really old, cheesy, but also classic monster movies, all in black and white, where you can see the paint peeling off the sides of the sets. All our monsters are in heavy makeup, so there's no CGI or anything. You can tell when a werewolf is lumbering towards you that is a man with fur plastered onto his face. Over-the-top, exaggerated mood and atmosphere. The movies themselves were never scary. They were. I guess they were a little spooky, but it was more a wonder at the unknown and these creatures and what drives them, and are they just killing machines or is there more going on? All of that stuff. It's a testament to what horror movies were before bloody bing bang boom, Pennywise, boo. Door slams shut, monster screams at you. This new movie Smile that's come out, I guess now smiling is jump scares. I don't know, whatever. But so with this movie, clearly Giacchino has an affinity for these old monster movies and wanted to incorporate them into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What surprised me is that he actually got to do it. Now, as much as I applaud the MCU for its variety, as I said, movies have different feels. You've got your political thrillers, your heist films, your comedy films. Now, with the directors taking over as well, you've got your Sam Raimi films, your Taika Waititi films. The MCU it definitely has a variety of tones and feels. But for the most part, it's still always been the same. It's been superheroes fighting supervillains with some comedy all along to keep things nice and casual so it doesn't get too serious. Lots of light, excitement, extravagant costumes for everybody to enjoy. So Werewolf by Night now is a bit of an oddball in that it's shot like it's an old 1930s, 1940s monster movie. Black and white, cheesy prosthetics, very spooky atmosphere, classic monsters, and also doesn't shy away from being violent, from being a little gory, a little intense for younger viewers. And when it was first announced that Marvel was working on a Halloween special for Werewolf by Night, and that it was going to be mature and all of that stuff, I went, okay, it's sort of an offhand comment. These days, when people talk about the future of the MCU, unless it's officially announced at Comic-Con, everybody's just constantly saying everything. It's like, oh, we're working on a Squirrel Girl movie. Oh yeah, there's talks now about introducing the super duper alien people. I've already run out of Marvel characters because when I have to improvise, I don't do particularly well. But yeah, it's all offhand. Rosario Dawson will show up and say, oh yeah, the Punisher series is happening, and then 2 days later go, it's not actually happening. I just thought I'd say it was. It's all hearsay until Kevin Feige's standing on that stage and says, here's what's coming, look behind me. That's what it is. The Halloween special Werewolf by Night was never announced like that. It appeared on a Disney Plus, like coming soon sort of thing. It was talked about in the offhand as if, okay, it's coming, it's going to be here. But as you will see recently from the Comic-Con that just came out, it's not put up on giant billboards to say, here it comes. We've got Thor Love and Thunder, She-Hulk Attorney at Law, Werewolf by Night, Black Panther Wakanda Forever. It's always been coming, but it hasn't been really look. Until recently, as we got to Halloween, it has picked up. But the trailers that I saw for it seemed intriguing. I liked the idea of doing a homage to those old monster movies. I was interested to see if the MCU would stick to its promises of doing a mature content sort of thing. And I know nothing about Werewolf by Night. As you will probably know from this show, for being a big Marvel fan, I know nothing about characters until they're actually in the MCU, and then I learn about them, and then if I am more interested, I'll go and research their comic history. Werewolf by Night has always been a name I know, but nothing else about it. I thought the fact that his alter ego, his name is Jack Russell, is hilariously on the nose. So even knowing that, I'm like, okay, so a werewolf called Jack Russell, it's not going to be that violent, that spooky, whatever. But, I sat down to give it a try, and I loved it. From the direction, from the homages, to the acting, to the prosthetics, the monsters that are hinted at or introduced, and the potential of what introducing this chapter of the MCU means to the larger world. First off, it's a lovely short 53-minute special. It doesn't worry about putting in post-credit scenes or alluding to the MCU world as large, apart from a throwaway line at the start of the movie which does state the Avengers exist in this world, so you do know it's the MCU. It's only focused on this one story of all these monster hunters, including Jack Russell and Elsa Bloodstone, who are all invited by crazy lady Verussa Bloodstone, played by Harriet Sansom Harris. Her lover, Ulysses Bloodstone, the head of this monster hunter order, has died suddenly. He has this special ruby called the Bloodstone. He's hidden it. He's stuck it on a monster and let the monster out into the grounds of his mansion. And basically, all the monster hunters have to rush out. Whoever kills the monster first and reclaims the Bloodstone will become the leader. For the most part, most of the monster hunters are your usual over-the-top, nasty pieces of work. As you would expect, the monster they are hunting is more human than they are. If you are a big Marvel Comics fan, you will know immediately who the monster is that they hunt, as I did. But if you don't, doesn't matter. Jack Russell is a part of the group, but it makes no secret of letting you know that he is the Werewolf by Night of the title. He's there not to hunt, but to help. And Elsa Bloodstone, despite being the daughter of the original Monster Hunter, she also is not really there to hunt monsters, but more just to reclaim what is really rightfully hers. They get caught up in some stuff. Eventually, the werewolf's going to come out. And when the werewolf comes out, run and hide everybody else, because if a werewolf's coming after you, you're going to die, and you're going to die horribly. That's about it. It doesn't hint at a cliffhanger of where these characters are going to go next. It doesn't end with like Nick Fury coming out of the bushes to tell Werewolf by Night that he needs to join the secret invasion force or whatever. It's simply a nice self-contained story that's respectful of the old monster movies of the past, and I absolutely love it. Michael Giacchino, not only can he make really great music, compose it, but he's a really good director as well. He knew exactly what he was doing when he created this thing. The way he directs it, the types of shots he pulls off, the way he treats the black and white atmosphere, or the monster transformations, or the over-the-top villains that come up in here. It really feels like you could just pop this into the old 1940s bookshelf with all the other monster movies, and it would feel right at home amongst it. It was great. Gael Garcia Bernal as the Werewolf by Night. Really great protagonist. Interesting sort of attitude to what's going on. He's not someone who's sort of tortured by being a werewolf. He's just someone who finds it a bit of an inconvenience, but he's definitely a good guy. It's not a is he an anti-hero like whatever's happening with Black Adam coming up? No, he's a good guy. Has a curse, but doesn't really let that get in his way. And Elsa Bloodstone as well is an interesting joint protagonist to this story as well. The werewolf itself is not a big part of the story. He shows up at the end, his transformation. You can't have a Werewolf by Night without the werewolf, I suppose. But for the majority of everything going on, it's just remember monster movies. Remember how they felt. Remember the excitement and wonder and spookiness of it. Well, here it is. Props to everybody involved. It was just a lot of fun. Great characters, great mood, great atmosphere. There's not that much I can say about it because there's not a lot here to dissect in 53 minutes. But from me going, oh yeah, this thing will never come out, to this is probably one of the best parts of the MCU I've ever seen, it's an incredible turnaround for sure. My final thoughts on this one is it's an unexpected treat. As I've said many a time before, when I started this show, I said I hated horror movies, and it turns out on reevaluating my position on things, I don't. I actually really like them, and I get a kick out of them. I mean, as I've said, the episode in the Sandman TV series, the horror episode, is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. So what it comes down to is not that I hate horror, I hate what horror has become, with the jump scares and the over-the-top gore and all the terrible shit that's going on in most horror films. There's not all of them, but most of them. But to see something like this, Werewolf by Night, which is not scary in any sense of the word, it's not really horror, but it's spooky, and it takes the suspense that comes from these sort of things, and the marvelous imagination that came into creating all these classic monsters like a werewolf or a zombie or a vampire or a Dracula. A vampire and a Dracula are the same thing. Frankenstein's monster, whatever. It's a testament to the early days of imagination and those early storytellers, and how a lot of what we like today is influenced by this older stuff. And Werewolf by Night is a wonderful homage to that, while also establishing its own characters, its own story, its own mood and own setting, and being able to be a part of the MCU without it being jarring, without it feeling out of place. If you never watched it, you wouldn't miss anything important from, I guess, what the overall Kang the Conqueror storyline is coming. But I would highly recommend everybody check it out. If you're wary of it because I don't like werewolves or horror movies, or I don't like black and white movies or anything like that, put aside it for a little bit just to watch this. As I said, it's only 53 minutes. It'll take up so little of your time, but I think you'll enjoy it. I certainly did. I am glad that I officially have Disney Plus properly. I bit the bullet, and I do pay for it monthly now because there's just too much coming out on it now for me to try and find ways to watch it all. But I'm glad that I had it so that I was able to sit down on my comfy couch and put Werewolf by Night on the big screen and be like, this is cool. I liked this for sure. Definitely worthy of being part of the MCU. Gael Garcia Bernal is great as Werewolf by Night. I do hope we get to see more of him, or at the very least, I hope we get to see more of this little pocket monsterverse that now exists within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But as it stands, great little special. I can't wait to see more like it. And I'm sure we will, because the critics are raving about this one, which means word of mouth means make more of it. If there's one thing the MCU loves to do, it's make more if people like a particular thing. You like our Disney Plus show? Here's 9 more. Oh, you liked Thor Ragnarok? Have another Thor Ragnarok. Oh, Werewolf by Night? You like this little monster thing? Great. We'll come up with some more stuff for you. And I, for one, look forward to it. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this completely all over the place review of Werewolf by Night, but I hope you got something out of it. As I said, I'll be back in a couple of days to review the entirety of She-Hulk Attorney at Law. Normally I would wait until the week after to let the series sit with me and I can gel about it or whatever. But a couple of things. One, She-Hulk's been on for so long now. It's had more episodes than the other shows that I feel like I've dwelled on it quite enough. And I don't think the last episode is really going to change my opinion too much. He said, hopefully. But also, as I said, I've been gone for over a month. I want to get some episodes out to you once my content back regaining circulation, which means can't really afford to just wait a week just to talk about something that is a hot topic at the moment. So be sure to check out in the next couple of days for that, for She-Hulk. Otherwise, thank you very much for listening to me. I love and appreciate you as always. It means a lot to have any sort of audience, whether it's 1 or 100 or 1,000 or something with 1 in it. And it means a lot to me. So thank you very much, and I will catch you next time on Spliced in Later. Adios, muchachos. I'll catch you next time.